Story 1, Chapter E. The 7 Magical Adventures of Genii. The Quest for the Ancient Wisdom Map. The Brotherhood of Pau. Presented and narrated by Jim Jara the Storyteller, representing the guiding force of fantasy and magic, residing in Fairy Tale Palace Planet. Chapter E. Sparacuta. They arrived out of the Shadow World, and Genii got a chance before they landed at one of the many ports in Sparacuta to view the environment. Sparacuta was an old volcano with a diameter of 20 miles at least, and its walls going deep as far as eyes could see, and completely built with incredible structures of ancient-looking palaces with beautiful columns and incredible balconies, all looking out into the volcano. Pathways are circling down and up, on which residents and visitors make their way up and down by foot. There are many ports built on different heights, but only the smaller-sized transportations coming from the Shadow World would seem to be able to land here. There is a microclimate inside this volcano, as heat still rises from far below, but in such temperatures creating a subtropical environment with subtropical trees and plants. Sparacuta is a world of endless restaurants, small and big-size hotels, and countless spas and therapy facilities. Niama states that visitors from all over the planet and from other galaxies come here for their vacation. She continued speaking. The caves inside the crater worlds were Urto's retreat areas for quiet time and rejuvenation in the past. He decided at one point in time that Sparacuta needed to be shared with the people of his realm and vacationers from other planets. He invited the Golots and Dwarfans to develop the crater for the purpose of ancient vacationing, rejuvenation and self-healing assisting. But one side became all about modern vacationing and all connected with action, clinics, computerized fitness centers and casinos, and go on. Through time, like in Miniox City, the influence of the Collecterians infected many Golots and Dwarfans. Sparacuta became a vacation of two extreme opposites. The way to pay here as well is with life credits, and the Collecterians do not have this, and also come to steal here. Different from Portigo and Miniox City, which is easier to protect, the Securions often have to deal with armed Collecterians, carrying hand-sized catapults. Anything bigger than slingshot rifles, slingshot crossbows, and arm-sized slingshot cannons was faster detected by the Securions, although sometimes hard to see, as the Collecterians easily hide things under their long robes. Are there no good Collecterians at all? Asked Genii. There are for sure honest Collecterians, but they have to play it easy and in disguise, otherwise they themselves and their family members get in problems. Not to forget that any young child, and also children from the Collecterians, have life credits, because they are innocent and genuine good until they get contaminated. The Collecterians do not come with their children who could do things for themselves, because the parents would feel left out. In other words, the Collecterian children do not even know that they have life credits in the first years of their life until they step into the limited reality of the adults. Genii looked at one side inside this enormous crater and discovered that there was a lot of action. There are a lot of visitors walking and sitting on balconies of the many big-sized restaurants, fitness centers, shops, sports centers, resorts, casinos, movie theaters, spas, and activity areas. The activity areas are crowded, as there is an enormous web with slides for children, bungee cord jumping, and barbecue areas. There are many modern elevators going up and down, and small-sized hovering transportation ships functioning as buses, taxis, and private limousines moving around. There are hovering platforms at every height with entertainers and musicians hovering in front of the balconies and entertaining visitors in the restaurants. The side they landed looked calmer. The restaurants, shops, hotels, fitness centers, and spas are smaller in size and more personal, and there are many gardens in which parents and children are playing. Instead of elevators, you see a web of staircases, in addition to the spiral pathways. Rock climbing and hiking seems to be the activity here, other than the simple fitness centers, health food shops and restaurants, and old-fashioned spas. Niyama explained that actually everything in life is about the two opposite sides of life, called duality, and that it is often very hard to deal with one side and us chasing just one side of our liking. After landing, they all stayed in disguise as much as possible, hiding inside their hoods of their robes. Niyama had arranged through telepathy with one of her friends who was the owner of a resort and spa that had been under reconstruction to be opened in several months, that they could stay in private so Morai would not be distracted by giving discourses. They are picked up by Kai, Niyama's friend, at the port and are escorted to a beautiful palace, being a top-class nature resort with spa. Arriving at the resort, Kai explained the situation of the resort and said that he was not able to show everything. He suggested the special virtual reality tour room where they could get a feeling of the entire resort and all its amenities, even though knowing that not everything was yet ready for use. Modern technology had penetrated itself into their system, but it was at least used for the right purpose. Niyama, picking up on Janai's thought, said, "There is nothing wrong with modern technology when it is used correctly, but mostly individuals become the slaves of it and cannot do without it anymore. Just think about your friends who are addicted to computer games and their cell phones." They entered a beautiful room and were seated in huge red comfortable chairs and were given headsets and glasses to put on. While viewing the resort and therapy departments, Kai added information and was eager to answer any question. "Just by watching the tour, one feels already rejuvenated," commented Morai. "I hope most of our future guests will say the same. It is a new approach and we mostly cannot show the entire resort because we are very busy and the treatment rooms are occupied," said Kai. By just seeing and being inside this incredible resort with all its natural self-healing components, such as the materials, the colors, scents, fabrics, and music, a great self-healing takes place, and the therapy on the menu are an additional self-healing adventure, commented Niyama. At the end of the virtual reality tour, Kai handed each one of them a self-healing adventure menu, and then he escorted them to their sleeping accommodation, which held again every element of self-healing connected to Erthos. Kai invited the guests, after unpacking, to a light dinner at the Mountain Moon restaurant. In the incredible setting of the restaurant, while viewing the many moons that were vaguely visible, looking through the many gem formations looking like huge windows in the outer crust of the planet. This incredible view was enhanced by nice classical music and they enjoyed a carrot and peanut salad with a ginger and honey dressing. Shortly after, they walked back many staircases to their beautiful accommodations and prepared for bed. Genai shared a room with Liama, and before falling asleep, Genai had many questions regarding her grandmother's life on the planet Earth. The next morning, they talk about a plan for Morai's treatment. As usual, Toro showed up assisting Morai in his visits, introducing him to several healthcare practitioners. After visiting a small clinic in which x-rays were taken from Morai's back and finding out that there was some arthritis but no severe damage, he is referred to an osteopath scheduled every day for massages, detoxifying baths, hydrotherapy, and as soon as possible he had to start with strengthening exercises and more walking. Also, a fast is recommended, and to be in silence and seclusion. Genai is offered many treatments as a study project and would join Morai as much as possible. Genai took some time in order to study all the words regarding the different treatments on her bracelet computer. At lunch they had a delicious carrot and beet juice drink, and this time had a long walk inside a labyrinth of caves, which was another self-healing adventure in itself. Inside the caves they saw many different kinds of baths and therapy areas. Genai asked Dionyx to explore with her the area around the resort, and for one reason or another Dionyx decided to dress every one of them completely in disguise when they would leave the protected premises. Dionyx had a great time dressing up Genai and face painting her. Walking around they noticed individual Calycterians everywhere, as she still was able to use her eyes as binoculars and notice that they had different symbols of animals embroidered on their long black robes. She discusses the matter with the others when she returns, but this is new to everybody, and they do not know what to do with the information. The only thing they come up with is that they are all from different Calycterian tribes. It is all strange, as it was known that even the different tribes among the Calycterians couldn't get along because of their intense control and greed. Why were they hanging out together? Jimjaro showed up in the evening and thought some treatments for him would do his body good. Toro stayed around for one reason or another, and Jimjara, after several days sharing nice stories, returned to his domain, Fairy Tale Palace Planet. Treatments. The following mornings they enjoyed the self-healing powers of the detoxifying hot mud baths, except for Dionyx, who didn't like to be dirty, as he called it, and planned further in the week to be treated with some body wraps and foot care, in combination with hand and foot reflexology. The gullet in charge explained that the skin was to assist in the elimination of waste, and it made now more sense to her that when the body has an overload on waste, that this wants to break out through the skin. So rashes, pimples, and other such called skin diseases were actually just signs to assist the elimination of the body. In the massage department, Avani, a tiny gullet, worked on Morai's body, applying skin rejuvenation, acupressure, and other deep body work and massage techniques. Genai was allowed to watch. Although the pressure applied seemed to be somewhat painful, it actually was a release and cleansing, as everybody could hear Morai hissing, moaning, groaning, and sighing. It was amazing to see a small person being able to apply enough pressure and finding all these hidden pains in Morai's body. Genai got her treatment as well, but chose to be worked on through her clothes which was an option on the massage menu. The bodywork and massage treatments were given in the beautiful decorated caves, enhanced with healing powers of essential oils such as sandalwood, cedarwood, pine, and oak moss, various red gemstone crystals, and classical music. Genai especially enjoyed foot reflexology. Avani explained that this type of bodywork was to let the client feel every point on their feet in order to reconnect with the earth, as the feet were that connection as we walk on them on the earth. Early in the mornings, when she woke up and saw Niyama meditating, which seemingly was something all her friends did in the morning, she took the time to fill in the blanks of the wisdom map and recorded all she learned from each of her coaches, called the Sacred Council. It became more and more obvious how they all assisted her in her life. Then the morning came that the day started with working out in the fitness facility, located on one of the many huge garden terraces looking out into the crater. Morai joined some posture improving and strength classes and also got a personal trainer, a dwarfen called Clay, to assist him to work with various weight machines that were inside. Morai was told to strengthen the body and to give it a sense of connection with the earth. Clay said that the body needs this earth connection, otherwise it chooses it by gaining weight or collecting too many possessions. Clay told him that these exercises are done very slow and the concentration of the exercise is more towards the earth than away from it, and that he should do this for a little while every day for the rest of his life. Clay got a magical exercise card set from the fitness library on which Erthos in a bodysuit was demonstrating the exercises. It was helpful for Morai to just follow Erthos' motions, as the motions on the chart became alive while watching them. But Morai did not much enjoy the physical exercises in the indoor gym. He more enjoyed doing them outdoors and working in the gardens in the early morning. Dionyx had a ball dressing everybody up in the strangest outfits. Not just Morai, Genai, Niyama, Toro and Jimjar, but everybody. But not always looking charming on everybody. It was so funny to see, and it made everybody having fun while exercising. Genai heard Niyama talking to Morai and explaining to him that working in the soil and especially with the hands were grounding contributions and an excellent way of exercising the body. So Genai asked Niyama, when Morai doesn't like to work out with the gym equipment, why don't they advise him just to work in the garden in the future? You see, said Niyama, most of the time, just like us on our planet that have left the countryside and do not even have a garden anymore, we need a replacement to do some physical work, and the gym is actually a good replacement. Sometime later they walked over the staircases up and down to go for their massage treatments. The walking up and down all the staircases was already an exercise on its own, and you could see on the Goliaths and Dwarfens living inside the crater, their legs looked and were strong from all the stair climbing. The days were filled with exercising, good food, therapy and attending seminars, and everybody felt better just by walking the staircases and the small winding paths. Genai was curious to explore the more active part of Sparakuta, and Dionyx went with her. After being completely transformed into a disguise, they enjoyed all the entertainment, but Dionyx stated it that most visitors go home completely exhausted, and that a combination of time out and healing needed to be implemented. She hears that in the olden days, vacation was just to rejuvenate and not to go overboard. He makes a comment that Morai could have said. Most individuals are not content in their life at home, at work, and need to feel that they get some fill-up when taking a vacation. Genai thought that she wanted to create in the near future a place in which change and adventure would be the main focus. Stepping into a modern gym where everything was computerized, they witnessed a group of strange-looking visitors working out. Genai observed the entire show while she was doing her workout. First, they had some arguments with the staff as they didn't want any help. They knew it all. One of them, seemingly the one with the leading skills, took a barbell which in Genai's opinion had too much weight. He was already out of shape but told everybody that he used to train. He took up the weight, a cracking noise came from his back, and 5 minutes later he was taken out on a stretcher, followed by the gang making jokes about him. That was very obvious what had to happen there, said Dionyx. That was not very smart, and also without any warming up, added Genai. Further exploring other gyms, Genai is intrigued by a fitness schools for children, teaching them proper foot placement, walking, proper standing, sitting, sleeping, and how to lift, push, and pull objects. She thinks that this would be great to integrate at schools on the planet Earth, or that parents should be made aware of. Dionyx explained about the endless negative effects for the body later in life when this is missing by children at a young age. Walking around in this very crowded part of Sparacuta was overwhelming, with a number of restaurants and seeing everybody just eating. Dionyx stated, most people are malnourished because in general we have an incomplete and incorrect picture concerning food and health. The things most people consider foods are baked, cooked, fried, homogenized, pasteurized, microwaved, and canned foods, which all have very little life energy left in them, and therefore mostly just fill-up stuff. Since the invention of the stove in the kitchen, health rates have gone drastically down. When we say that we go to restaurants to get proper nourishment, we might fool ourselves. There is of course energy-rich foods to be found in restaurants, but that means that you need to make the right choice. In general, restaurants are not geared to care of our health. It has come that far that with the stove we have created a restaurant at home as well. We live the life of the such-called rich man and have lost the foundation of vital nutrition and therefore suffer unnecessary. Why not get back to creating a simple and healthy base? And when dining out, you might not be able to choose something vital, but call it going out for some entertainment. Have a good time, enjoy your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but realize that it might not be adding to your base for health. I agree totally with you, said Genai. Niyama has a saying that since the invention of the stove, we have hospitals, and since man is feeding his pets, we have vets, meaning hospitals for animals. Genai, have you noticed the many shops with the name Vertagem? You all read minds, isn't it? It just came to my mind seeing one of the signs. Let's have a visit. They enter the shop and are welcomed, and Genai saw many customers resting and sleeping on beds or sitting in very comfortable chairs. These are massage chairs, and the beds are Seragem massage beds with special rollers that address the entire spine and have additional features that assist the body in self-healing. I know that you want to say something about these mechanical treatments, Shania, but know that modern inventions are not all negative. Try it out. After Shania had experienced the treatment, she was convinced and spoke highly about them. They have similar beds and chairs on your planet, Shania, and it could possibly help your mother as well. Thanks, Dionyx. The war starts. Each day, they keep noticing that more and more Collecterians came to visit, and as well wandering through the alternative healing side of the crater, which they were staying, and where in general not many Collecterians showed up in the past. They talked about the fact that in the last days no thefts have taken place by Collecterians, but cannot figure out why. Shania and Dionyx decided to dress themselves up as Bojaktians, a tribe friendly to the Collecterians, in order to mingle with the Collecterians, as they are very curious to find out what is happening. Sitting on the side of a group of Collecterians, they overheard a conversation, making clear that there is really something going on. The Collecterians are faced with a crisis and they need workers for their manufactories, and their new plan is to capture children, but even more important is that they hear that the Collecterians are looking for Moriah Morrow with his party. They talked about a dangerous girl he has brought with him, a girl that came to destroy the empire of the Collecterians. They hear that all Collecterians are searching for Morai in order to capture and destroy that girl. Shania got afraid, and before they could hear more about the plan of the Collecterians, they returned back to base and talked with the other friends about what they had found out. Morai stated that the Collecterians had always been afraid of the prophecy that a young and innocent soul would come and causing the downfall of their empire. Looking back, in their history it was exactly what had happened before their entire home planet vanished. They have a feeling that it could happen again, and for that reason probably the rumor was going around that I have come with another young soul that would cause their downfall again. They were searching for Moriah Morrow with his party, who had been spotted in Portico in the company of an unknown young soul, and now that had become priority. They all concluded that the Collecterians have a plan to capture many children but do not know how, but know that they are after Shania, and that they have to make precautions. They all agreed that none of the Collecterians knew where they are, because probably the last news what they had was that they all left Portico, but they could possibly expect them back because the golden space carriage had stayed behind. This is as far as they all could figure things out for the moment. As they are talking, the terrifying news comes to their ears to confirm what Shania and Dionyx discovered, that several tribes of the Collecterians are on a warpath, stealing, plundering villages and taking children to work for them in their personal cities in Darkania, in the Metallicondas, being their manufactories. There are not enough Securions, and they are not everywhere on the Red Planet. Rumors are also telling that the amount of space pirates is increasing, making money by capturing children from travelers. Traveling through the Shadow World was now impossible, because all domestic ports were closed. The Securions announced Spartacuta in a state of the highest alarm, and the first thing they know is they need to secure all the children, and the best way at that moment is to hide everyone inside the labyrinth of caves that still exist behind the many businesses, and of which some are functioning as transportation tunnels for the recyclons to take the garbage out from Spartacuta. Panic broke out as nobody could fly out, and that afternoon out of the shadow world appeared countless robobirds, driven by Colecterian pirates equipped with their weapons, such as slingshot rifles, slingshot crossbows, arm-size slingshot cannons, and hand-size catapults. They could not land, as all the ports are closed, and the robobirds are too big to land elsewhere, but they hover in the air and attacked with a different size of rocks coming from their weapons. The Securions were busy directing everybody with children into the caves, and they used their body as protection shields, as there are countless rocks flying around. The Securions were rock-proof, and the only way to hurt Securions was in their eyes, but they wore special protection glasses for that reason. The Securions, who are excellent warriors, had to deal with the fact that already many Colecterians were already present in Sparacuta and crushing many Colecterians with their fists, but there were just too many. A sudden help came from the Dwarfans and Goliaths that had gone Colecterian because they became afraid of their business in the tourist industry and switched side now by helping the Securions. There are very little casualties except for the Colecterians, who are not in the best shape in the first place. The unfortunate thing happened that the head of the Securions was poisoned by the Colecterians and is sick like a dog, and Morai did put Toro in charge of the Securions, Dwarfans and Goliaths. With Toro leading them, the Securions were able to take out many Colecterians who were already in Sparacuta, and they tried to keep the other endless Colecterians attacking from the robobirds under control, but it was almost impossible, as there are so many. All visitors and children are safe in the endless tunnels and caves, and there is enough food available, as most restaurants and hotels have their storage and supply in the caves behind their facilities. Water was also no problem, as there was enough water dripping down from the cave walls. And the temperature was okay. The possibility to get trapped for some time was evident, but there was no immediate danger, as even the garbage was transported out by the recyclones in the night through their small tunnels, being connected to Cyclondor, and the danger of poor hygiene was not to be expected. Trapped. It was unfortunately different from Morai and his entourage. They were trapped in an area that at the moment had not a lot of food supply at all, as the resort was closed, and the tunnels for the recyclones to come was also a problem, as caves had collapsed. All the renovation was connected to these repairs, but now they got stuck, except for water, which always ran down the cave walls. Shinai said to Noyama, "Grandma, I have been not able to go to the bathroom yesterday and today, and I'm not feeling too well." "Well, Shinai, is that the first time this happened?" "No, it all started after Daddy passed on." "And did your eating habits change after he passed on?" "Yes, Grandma, I must admit that I ate a good amount of junk food." "Well, then that is all clear. It was hard for you to let go of your dad, and you felt trapped, like you feel as well here in the cave. Plus, your body couldn't deal with all the unhealthy food and got constipated. Your large intestines are connected to the earth energy, and we need to help you with getting the machine running again." "How can we help my body, Grandma?" "Well, I have always herbal fibers with me, of which psyllium husks are the main ingredients, and for sure we can find here somewhere an enema bag, and I wished we could assist your body with colon hydrotherapy." Explain more, please, Grandma." "No. The fiber is something you take mixed with water or in a little juice, and it activates and assists in the cleaning of the colon, and which I recommend to individuals when eating cooked meals, as it provides the roughage which the cooked food doesn't have anymore. An enema bag is to let water run into your rectum in order to activate and clean the large intestines, but which only reaches a part. And the colon hydrotherapy are machines that can give the water a little bit more pressure and reaches further. And we can also try to drink some castor oil with fresh orange juice when we can find it. Seemingly, after taking the herbal fiber, for 2 times Shani's bowels started to move again. Niyama suggested fasting, because the lack of food supply. Niyama explained a lot to everybody regarding fasting, which took the fear away, especially by Janai. But she also saw this as an opportunity to start with Morai's fast, which had been planned anyway, with the only difference that they all had to fast now. They went deeper inside the labyrinth of caves, and Niyama explained that the caves were dedicated to the bear, in which Ertos and other individuals experienced to hibernate and rejuvenate the body to the cellular level. Each of the caves was a piece of decorated art, simple but beautiful and warm. Janai liked in particular the many crystal lights everywhere inside the walls that dimmed themselves when you would close your eyes to sleep or meditate. Niyama explained that even the most incurable diseases could have a good chance to turn around through the self-healing powers of fasting. The concept that Shani had in her mind, that going without food for a day you would die, quickly left her mind. Niyama also explained the customs of the old tribes, where fasting was a natural state of the yearly cycles of life. The changing from one season always began with a fast, which cleansed the body from impurities collected in the season before, making the body clean and preparing it for the new experiences of the new season. The stories Niyama told them about so-called incurable diseases were very interesting. And now it made complete sense to Janai. When a body is diseased, one should lay off foods and heavy work, for that uses a lot of energy, which is needed for the self-healing assisting powers of the body. Janai remembered that she had noticed this with the animals in her environment at home. When they were sick, they would automatically fast, rest and rejuvenate. Niyama explained more about regular and alternative medicine, all trying to pinpoint the why and how, but there is always more behind everything we cannot see or understand. She spoke about the Divana mesh being the representative of the balancing force of comprehension, from whom she learned that we know very little from the level of consciousness we have right now. Morai talked about the real fasting, being meditation and inner silent prayer, and replacing all worldly thoughts and desires. At one point, Shani wandered all by herself off into one of the side tunnels, who all were dead-end, but something drew her into this particular one. It was the home of Mother Snake, and it scared Shani so much that she froze and even could not scream, seeing this very big snake. Shani had been afraid of snakes her entire life. While standing like a statue, Mother Snake started to talk. You see, Shani, often people interpret the energy of the snake incorrectly, and then only the negative thoughts connected to a snake remain. The energy connected to us is patience, rebirth, protection, balance, and much more. Study the Scepter of Hermes, and you will learn even more about snakes. When the gentle snake kept on explaining things to Janai, the being scary and frozen left her, and she sat down and listened, and in her mind she decided to make a research on the symbol, meaning and energy of the snake on the internet. After some time she was even able to touch Mother Snake, and they had a good time together. After a fast of 3 days, Shani came to the idea to visit Jimjara, and wondered why she had not thought about that before. Niama, picking up on her thought, said that she would not have taken the opportunity to experience the fasting. Shania drew her magic door and used the password and left several times to visit Jimjara's realm, while the others continued fasting. Outside, the war continued, and the Collecterians on the Robobirds kept on battling. At the time Shania was thinking of really being trapped, they were hearing a noise coming from behind the collapsed cave area. Could it be that the Collecterians had discovered where Morai and that special young child Shania were hiding? Suddenly there was a hole, which became bigger, and then they were facing an enormous team of recyclons that had been working from their tunnels towards the caves. Everybody was happy, and when they walked for some time through the caves, they found out that the recyclons had made an additional tunnel, going up and out and away from Sparakuta. Shania asked how the recyclons knew, but there was no direct answer other than the recyclons were very sensitive creatures. "We need some magic here," stated Dionyx, who had changed himself into Jimjara's outfit, but did let out a scream when at the same time the magical door of Jimjara appeared in mid-air and opened from the other side and Jimjara stepping out. "Somebody is in need of some magic?" As they had no means of transportation, Jimjara had with him 7 unicorns, 3 packed with provisions and the other 4 for themselves. Some minutes later they were all sitting on the unicorn and were able to escape through the tunnel, and they were sure that no Collecterians could follow them, as their speed was very fast. They could not risk that Shania would be captured, and decided to travel back to Portigo, which was the most protected area, and possibly finding a way to get to the golden space carriage and leave the realm of Erdos. After they came above ground and got out of the tunnel, they disappeared into a dense forest with enormous big trees. Dionyx, who was trying to ease the tension, dressed everybody up in all kinds of funny outfits, linked to horsemen, and fooling around on horseback, and got caught by a branch of a tree. He fell down, but luckily he didn't hurt himself. They had to take side roads, as there were many armies of Collecterians on the warpath. Shania knew it would be risky to send Serena in her new profession as Hawk ahead of them, as any Collecterian would want to kill her. But it was also risky when anyone would find out that Serena was no Hawk, and possibly connecting this to the existence about her, Morai, and the other members of the party. Anyway, it was decided to let Serena go ahead, but when she came back, Shania discovered that as well her Hawk program was not 100% working anymore. Serena came back with a movie and pictures of beautiful plants and trees. In order to avoid any Collecterians, they decided to go through Shakania and Miniania, the dark forest and the weeping swamps, and continued to Tribon to finally end up at Portigo. Shakania, earthquake country. After some time, they ended up at an area with hundreds of semi-active volcanoes, all releasing steam and forming clouds. The unicorns became nervous as suddenly the earth started to tremble, and all the volcanoes started to spit, and lava was running down their slopes. "We have to be fast to pass," spoke Morai. Suddenly a noise started coming from behind them. Shania looked behind her and saw the earth splitting open at many places and following them. Shania saw in the big cracks deep down boiling lava. "Don't look back, Shania," screamed Niama. The unicorns went faster and faster, and suddenly their wings came out, and they escaped from the land below them and flew in between and out of the volcanoes. How was that possible? Niama explained that all the unicorns still had the ability to fly, which they had complete control over in the past, but now they only activated themselves in emergencies. Nature has its ways of cleaning, isn't it? Said Niyama. What you mean with that? Responded Chennai. What just happened with the earth cracking open is a reflection of most people's lives. People work too much, race against the clock, consume too much food, drink not enough water, and work and dry themselves out, which we call dehydration. Is it strange that the skin starts showing messages of imbalance? The body wants to get rid of the waste through the skin. The pressure builds up and the skin breaks out. The Earth's surface is the skin of Mother Earth. And for sure we do enough to create imbalance, and nature always seeks ways to get the balance back. Chennai got the general idea, but was still somewhat confused by the explanation. Miniania. Going through a mist, Morai explained that they were entering a minimum time zone, which they also would encounter being entering Tribon. There were various zones in the Red Planet, and being in those zones, it feels as if time stood still in order to experience the ancient beauty and magic, and of course black magic as well. He stated that they could take their time in these zones, for when they stepped out of it, it would only be a very little time that had passed. How is this possible? Asked Chennai. Remember, we are in the world of magic. They entered a very dark forest called Miniania, with magical-looking trees, with the creatures of the night and underground world, a world in which the light was brought by light bugs and special birds giving off light. Most trees had beautiful wooden decorated birdhouses in which creatures of the forest were living. After a while they ended up at an old monastery where monks lived. It gave a real good feeling as time stood still in this place, reflecting peace. They were welcomed and shown their sleeping accommodations, after which Chennai went with one of the older monks, showing her around. The unicorns were taken to the stables and cared for. Behind the monastery she could see ancient graveyards. One of the monks explained to Chennai that this area, in the eyes of the Collecterians, is cursed, and they avoid this place. The graves, which all didn't look like normal graves at all, was a place where all the dead Collecterians had been taken after the first big war, which they themselves had started. It was a huge swamp area, with endless strange-looking trees sticking out, but when Chennai looked closer with her special pairs of eyes, she saw that the trees were the dead Collecterians, formed in the shape of trees, partially moving and having very sad eyes. The monk explained that they are imprisoned in the form of trees and inside the swamp, paying off for all the suffering they had caused to others during the war. Because time goes slow here, they would have to stay here for a long time. Then suddenly a deep shrieking weeping sound came from all the body trees, and at the same moment enormous over-dimensional shells with enormous pearls inside rose out from the swamp. What is this? Asked Chennai. Every so many hours these incredible treasures come from below, and the suffering Collecterians, being reminded that they cannot have them, and for that they weep. Actually, it is a reminder for all of us that we cannot take anything with us from this world after we die. Are a lot of people visiting this area? No. Only pure souls can be here, because any weak and corrupted individual showing up here takes the chance that these suffering spirits invade your body. Whoa, that sounds creepy. Actually, this invading of spirits that have no physical human body takes place in other incidences as well. Have you ever noticed individuals getting drunk or taking drugs, and that their entire being changes? They give up the responsibility as human beings, and these spirits enter their weak body and mind and play around for some time. There is a big price to be paid for this weakness. Can we leave this area? And is there not something else nicer to see? Of course. Follow me into our magical garden. At the moment the word magic was spoken, a door in mid-air appeared. It opened and Jimjara stepped off his magical carpet and took the monk completely by surprise. He fell backwards on his behind, but when he saw Janai being familiar with this magical-looking character, he eased up. After they were introduced, they walked together through the garden. Janai asked lots of questions to Jimjara regarding the situation in and around the Red Planet, and Jimjara said that he was gathering information, which he would share the next time that they would meet. Walking through the garden, she saw giant mushrooms with an entire world of little folk around, and the monk said, "They are in charge to take out the mushrooms we eat here at the monastery. There are so many different kinds, and they taste delicious, especially with baked potatoes and olive oil." Janai lay down on the ground to see the world of these creatures that gave her many smiles but kept on working. She loved in particular the ones with the slender bodies and pointed ears. At one point she asked to one of them, "Where are you folks living?" "Just come to see for yourself." Janai looked at Jimjara, who nodded yes. At the moment the little one touched Janai, she became their size. Jimjara joined Janai, so she had some familiar face around her. They walked and entered a hall and went down some stairs. Everything was lit with torches, and there she saw another world with endless mushrooms, but not for eating. They were the homes of the little folk. There were big storage rooms where these folks stored sugar beets, carrots, potatoes, and other root vegetables. "Come, I show you our peanut factory." Many folks were at work preparing peanuts and others grinding them and making raw peanut butter or peanut oil. "Do you like peanut sauce, Janai?" "I never had that, but I'm open to try." Janai played and talked with these little folk, and she thought how lucky she was to live again in the world of fantasy and magic. This evening at the monastery we will serve you oven-baked French fries with raw peanut butter sauce, made from peanut butter with water and spices. Sounds good to me. Janai visited many parts of this underground world, and at one point in time they ended up under the roots of a dead tree trunk. We have made a pathway up through the tree so special visitors like you can experience an entire universe within a such-called dead tree. We have made peace with the insects, so do not be frightened, just follow me. It took several hours, while Janai, followed by Jimjara, observed an entire new world of insects and other small creatures all living inside a dead tree. She looked inside an ant colony and rode on a beetle and spoke with worms. It was amazing to see that they all lived in and from this dead tree, and everyone explained her as much as possible about their life with Janai. After the tour they said their farewells. Jimjara disappeared again through his magic door, promised Janai that he would get more information regarding the situation, and then Janai followed the monk again. That evening Janai enjoyed the oven-baked fries with peanut butter sauce and were invited to an opera performance. Many other guests from all over the universe, dressed up in black and white, were sitting in the theater enjoying an opera. The music was great, she thought, but the story was sad. Niama, picking up on her feelings, commented, Chennai, many operas are created in the past, when living circumstances were not easy and where people struggled with life, and with the basic things of life. The interpretations of the writers and composers was to bring the deep sadness out from within them, which you for sure are feeling. Sadness can be something beautiful, isn't it? Yes, it is beautiful. After the performance, Chennai was thinking about Toro in Sparakuta and decided to visit Jimjara, asking him if he had had contact with Toro, and hearing that he had been invited constantly to keep all the children busy hiding with their parents. As Jimjara visited them, they also found out about Portigo and Miniok City, which he as well visits, to keep everybody and especially the children busy with stories. The water protection walls are up in Portigo, and the maze of streets below is flooded by the Securions in order to keep any Collecterians out. Chennai asked about what happened with all the dwarfens and Golots living around Portigo. Going into more details, Jimjara told her that the Hawks had foreseen the situations, and before the city protection walls went up, that they all had taken shelter in Portigo. The port is also closed, but the Securions have their hands full with the Collecterians that are still hiding in Portigo and Miniok City, trying anything to create an entrance for the army on the outside to come in. They also try to take over the operation of the port in order to let Collecterians fly in. The aircrafts with the Securion outside the Red Planet have also enough to do, as they are under attack by the Collecterian space pirate ships. As Chennai is not familiar with many other cities and villages, she hears from Jimjara, who is everywhere delivering his stories, that the Collecterians are everywhere hunting children, and the entire planet is in a state of war. They all understood at that moment that going through Portigo was impossible, but Tribon was decided to go to, which probably was not yet under attack by the Collecterians, who had no need to capture children from there, as the Tribonese are already working for them in a sense. There are no ports and only few paths to go and return from through the mountains, and not an area to expect an invasion. A further plan could not be made, and they first needed to get to Tribon, and they would see from there. After they left on their unicorns the minimum time zone in Miniania, realizing that almost no time had passed, they entered an area in which the winter is more familiar to Chennai, as it got very cold. Chennai constantly sent Serena ahead of them to see for their safety. In order to avoid the roads that are in between major cities and villages inside the Red Planet, they took side roads and chose to travel through areas the Collecterians avoided. This meant for them to travel through the very cold Glacier Park of the Death, another graveyard where many Collecterians were buried after the First War. It was very spooky and scary, as all the ice formations left and right from them had dead Collecterians inside. With the red shadows, it all didn't look to be a place where anybody wants to be, and they traveled as soon as possible through it to reach the icy mountains of Tribon. At the moment they took the most dangerous path to go over the mountains to end up in the valley in between the icy mountains, they entered again a minimum time zone. This was also one of the reasons not many Collecterians liked to be there, as life went too slow for them. Dionysus changed everybody into Eskimo outfits with face protection for the cold, but he also thought it to be wise to be in disguise entering Tribon, because there would be Collecterians present. There are very few paths leading over the mountains into the valley of the Tribonese, not easy to travel on, and at times of the year not accessible at all.